Welcome to a new webinar from ComplyMarket, the Munich-based company focusing on enabling manufacturers and suppliers to be compliant while being able to save their time and money and expand their markets. Today, we handle a critical topic to all companies worldwide, which would like to avoid brand damage, prison and financial punishments. How to create a product compliance management system ISO 37301. Non-compliance poses significant risks to businesses and their top management. It can result in CEOs and senior managers facing legal consequences, colossal financial penalties, and reputational harm. The U.S. has recognized the importance of organizational precautions to mitigate breaches of duty since the 1980s, as evidenced by the U.S. sentencing guidelines. The Federal Ministry of Justice's draft bill from September 2020 proposes corporate sanctions for compliance violations, reinforcing the global shift towards stringent compliance mechanisms. Managerial liability and compliance. Federal Supreme Court's decision, in its landmark judgment on September 5, 2017, case, Krauss-Maffei-Wegmann KMW, the court underscored the importance of a certified compliance management system, emulating a role model function, establishing a trustworthy collaboration with skilled compliance officers. This judgment accentuated that both the existence and subsequent improvements to a compliance management system can influence the calculation of fines against entities and groups. Reference, Section 30 OEG. Directors must exercise conscientiousness in their roles. Failure to meet this standard may necessitate relinquishment or resignation from directorial positions. Sustainability and compliance. With evolving global standards, sustainability, specifically ESGRC, environmental, social, governance, risk management, and compliance, is now paramount. Legal precedents, like the cases from the District Court of Munich and the Higher Regional Court of Nuremberg, emphasize the mandatory nature of a compliance management system that encapsulates pertinent sustainability mandates. In this evolving legal landscape, companies must adopt rigorous compliance management systems not only to avert financial and legal ramifications but also to align with global sustainability requirements. In another wording, building strong compliance management system can alleviate the legal consequence in the court. Now, let us start discussing how to build product compliance management system. Introduction. In companies like many other companies aiming for top quality, the main goal is simple yet profound. They strive to make sure their products are up to the mark worldwide. This ensures people's safety and guards our environment while dodging potential risks. There are two kinds of obligations they keep an eye on. Legal obligations they must follow. Promises or commitments they've made voluntarily. But there's a catch. Products are becoming trickier, more laws and rules are being made, and there are more links in the supply chain than ever before. This makes the task challenging. To handle these, companies employ tools that spot, track, and lessen risks linked to products. One such tool is the Product Compliance System, PCS for short. Its aim? Catch risks early and handle them. How each company does this might differ, but the main goal remains the same. Sometimes, people use different names for PCS, like technical compliance. The PCS is grounded in a strategy called the 3 lines model and is a part of the second line. This guide will walk you through the basic parts of a PCS. It offers steps, questions to guide you, and real-life examples to make setting up a PCS clearer. This ensures smooth communication and helps fulfill product-related promises. This doesn't only help one company but benefits all in the supply chain, making things safer and efficient. However, this guide doesn't comment on quality systems, like DIN/N ISO 9001. 2. Basics. Product compliance simply means a company sticks to its promises. These promises can be legal, related to a company's product, or even set by the company itself. A PCS outlines how to keep these promises systematically throughout the product's life. Position of PCS in the company structure. Typically, departments that handle tasks are the ones making sure promises are kept. In the car-making world, core tasks to ensure products meet the standard are part of the first-line processes. Responsibilities are clear-cut. But top-tier company leaders must make sure everything is above board. They often lean on compliance systems to help. To handle risks related to product compliance, these leaders can assign tasks to a special compliance team. This compliance function sits in what's termed the 3 lines model and acts as a second line. How does the 3 lines model look like? Management and leadership are on the top and are responsible for the company's operations while adhering to laws. Operational departments represent first line and have a role. Provision of products and services to customers. Risk management. Compliance with relevant binding obligations. Governance function represents second line and have a role. Establishing guidelines and oversight. Offering expertise and support. Addressing matters related to risk. Internal audit does represent third line and does have a role. Provides an independent and objective assessment and consultation on all matters related to achieving the company's objectives. What's included in pieces? The piece's scope is determined by what products a company offers. A company needs to be clear on what products fall under their pieces. This helps understand the promises they need to keep. It's crucial to communicate about the pieces in the supply chain, but there are rules. For example, you can't share price info with those not directly involved. Keeping promises. Promises are grouped based on what the product needs in the market. This includes legal requirements, like safety laws. Technical rules, like ISO standards. Company set standards, like quality checks. External promises made by the company. Any claims made in ads which set customer expectations. Link with other systems. Pieces can work with other systems in a company, like quality or general compliance management. It's essential to see where pieces fits with systems like risk, quality, and legal management. Scope of pieces. Every company has different products, and these products have a life, from creation to when they're retired. For pieces, it's not just about looking at one point but the whole life of the product. What does this mean for companies I? They need to be crystal clear about which products are covered by their pieces. The key parts of their pieces come from the products they decide to include. They should pinpoint these areas based on any potential risks. But here's the tricky bit: when talking about their pieces in the supply chain, they have to follow some rules. They can't share things like how they price their products or specific conditions with outsiders. Also, discussions about the quality of the products and laying out pieces needs for suppliers are a big no-no. Binding obligations. Promises are promises. For a company, these come from what their products need to be like for the market they're selling in. But these promises or obligations aren't just on paper. Companies I needs to figure them out, check them, and make sure they're living up to them in real time. The pieces acts as a watchdog, a second pair of eyes. What kind of promises are we talking about? Legal ones, like laws about pollution or making sure products are safe. Technical ones, standards that are accepted globally. In-house rules, companies own set benchmarks on how things should be done. There's more. Pieces also checks if the real features of a product match what the company has promised publicly. If the product is as good as the ads say it is, meaning what customers are expecting. Organizations ought to pinpoint their compliance responsibilities according to various departments, roles, and diverse organizational undertakings to ascertain who is impacted by these duties. To stay updated on alterations to laws and other compliance duties, they can subscribe to relevant regulator mailing lists. Join industry-specific professional associations. Use specialized information services. Attend pertinent industry seminars and workshops. Regularly check regulator websites. Schedule meetings with regulatory bodies. Collaborate with legal consultants. Keep tabs on sources that announce compliance obligations, like legal announcements or court verdicts. A strategy grounded in risk assessment is recommended. This means businesses should first identify their paramount compliance duty relevant to their operations and then shift their focus to other existing duties, aligning with the Pareto principle. It might be beneficial for organizations to consolidate all compliance duties into a singular document, like a log or registry. This document should be updated consistently. Besides outlining the duties, the document should also encompass the ramifications of these duties, management strategies for these duties, associated controls, a comprehensive risk evaluation, how Pieces fits with other systems. Pieces isn't a lone wolf. It can work hand in hand with other structures already in place in a company. Say, company's I already has a system that looks after quality or general rule following. Pieces can join forces with them. It's like piecing together a puzzle. Pieces should find its spot and work alongside systems that handle risks, quality, processes, legal matters, and general rule following. What are the 7 elements of a product compliance management system? 1. Culture. 2. Objectives. 3. Risks. 4. Program. 5. Compliance organization and structure. 6. Compliance communication and training. 7. Continuous monitoring, improvement, and reporting in compliance management systems. Culture. Culture, action plan for Mr. Z. Objective, foster a robust corporate culture that supports product compliance and ensures adherence to all regulations. Steps. Reinforce corporate values, ensure all corporate values are in alignment with product requirements. Review existing corporate values. Identify gaps where product compliance may be affected. Implement changes to address these gaps. Leadership communication, adopt a tone from the top approach. Schedule regular communication sessions. Emphasize the importance of guiding principles and expectations related to product compliance in all communications. Embed mindsets and values, incorporate mindsets that favor product compliance into the corporate culture. Host workshops and training sessions to instill these values. Develop scenarios for potential conflicts like balancing deadlines, costs, and quality, and train employees on resolving them with compliance in mind. Update code of conduct. If there is an existing code of conduct, embed product compliance values within. Review the current code of conduct. Integrate explicit references to product compliance. Disseminate the updated code of conduct to all employees. Training and communication. Establish or upgrade pieces training modules. A. Identify areas where training is lacking. Identify areas where training is lacking. Develop new modules or tweak existing ones to emphasize corporate culture's role in product compliance. Promote a speak-up culture, encourage employees to voice concerns without fear of retaliation. Set up multiple reporting channels, direct meetings, anonymous hotlines, etc. Assure employees that they will not face sanctions for identifying and communicating issues. Supply chain communication, ensure open communication about product compliance with partners. Revisit agreements with OEMs, suppliers, and sub-suppliers. Integrate clauses emphasizing the importance of product compliance in the partnership. Audit questions that Mr. Z may ask to check culture in a PCM. Objective, establish a set of questions to ensure the organization stays on track with product compliance. Steps. Code of conduct, confirm if there is a mandatory code that includes guidelines on product compliance. If not, initiate the process of drafting one. Leadership communication, check the frequency and method of leadership communicating the importance of product compliance. If infrequent, schedule regular sessions. Explore various mediums, emails, videos, webinars. Training and communication, review how often product compliance values are discussed in training. If not addressed, incorporate it into the training syllabus. Encourage reporting, ensure there are systems in place for employees to report breaches. If mechanisms are missing, develop platforms for reporting. Whistleblower system, determine if there is an anonymous reporting system for potential violations. If absent, establish an anonymous whistleblower system. Educate employees about the existence and use of this system. By adhering to this action plan, Mr. Z can ensure that the company's culture is compliant and that employees are educated, protected, and encouraged to maintain the highest product standards. Objectives, action plan for Mr. Z. Objective, to define, implement, and monitor clear objectives for the pieces, ensuring it remains effective and in line with the company's overarching goals. Steps. Specifying pieces objectives, clearly define the primary goals and objectives of the pieces to provide a roadmap for its implementation. For instance, a compliance goal, to provide yearly compliance training to the appropriate staff. Map out the overall objective of ensuring binding obligations are met throughout the product lifecycle. It's crucial to identify the necessary steps, set a timeline for completion, when, and designate a point person or team for the task, who. Regularly track, document, evaluate, and, if necessary, modify the progress of these objectives. Break down this objective into sub-objectives covering the different stages of the product lifecycle. Integration with supply chain. Establish a structured framework in which companies throughout the supply chain can fulfill their binding obligations. Collaborate with stakeholders at each stage of the supply chain. Clearly communicate the objectives and expectations for each stage. Measurable targets. Specify clear, quantifiable targets to evaluate the effectiveness of the pieces. Set targets related to product compliance throughout the life cycle. Define targets for the correct implementation of processes within the company. Establish targets for employee protection and acknowledgement of product compliance. Measurement of pieces efficiency. Develop criteria to gauge the pieces' success. Determine KPIs or metrics suitable for monitoring and enhancing the pieces. Ensure objectives are aligned with overarching corporate objectives and differentiate from other management systems. Continuous monitoring and improvement. Regularly review and refine objectives and targets based on performance. Use the defined KPIs and metrics to evaluate progress. Adjust objectives as necessary based on performance data. Create compliance policy. A compliance policy outlines an organization's core principles and dedication towards ensuring compliance. It dictates the standard of accountability and performance while providing a benchmark against which actions are evaluated. The policy should resonate with the specific compliance duties stemming from the organization's operations. Key aspects. Approval. The governing body should endorse the compliance policy. Specifications. The policy should detail the application and context of the compliance system concerning the organization's size, nature, intricacies, and operational backdrop. It should delineate the degree of integration of compliance with other departments such as governance, risk, audit, and legal. It should lay out the foundational principles guiding the organization's interactions with both internal and external stakeholders. Supporting documents. The compliance policy shouldn't exist in isolation. It should be backed by other operational guidelines and processes. Translation. If deemed necessary, the policy should be made available in different languages to cater to a diverse audience. Appropriateness. The policy should be tailored to fit the organization's compliance responsibilities that emerge from its scope and operations. Development considerations. Recognizing local, regional, or global obligations. Aligning with the organization's strategy, objectives, culture, and governance framework. Factoring in the organization's structural composition. Weighing the risks linked to non-adherence. Adhering to adopted standards, internal protocols, and industry benchmarks. Content components. A mission declaration. A broad policy statement. Strategies for management, with a clear allocation of roles and resources. Standardized compliance processes. Provisions for audit, due diligence, and compliance checks. Audit questions for Mr. Z to check if objectives are set in a correct manner under the product compliance management system. Objective. Ensure that the objectives of the pieces are clearly defined, effectively communicated, and regularly monitored for continuous improvement. Steps. Definition of objectives. Confirm that objectives for individual elements of the pieces have been explicitly stated. If not, initiate sessions to discuss and finalize these objectives. Ensure criteria for fulfilling these objectives are also defined, such as specific training quotas or effective communication measures. Documentation and communication. Ensure there's a systematic process for deriving, documenting, and communicating these objectives. Check if there is an existing regulatory document or system. If not, create one. Make sure this document is easily accessible and understandable to all relevant stakeholders. Documentation might encompass the company's guidelines and procedures related to compliance, details, goals, framework, and elements of the compliance management system, designation of roles and duties pertaining to compliance, a log of applicable compliance obligations, registers of compliance risks and the sequencing of actions based on compliance risk evaluations, records of non-adherence, near incidents, and inquiries, yearly strategies for compliance, employee details, which might also encompass training logs, Audit methodologies, timetables, and affiliated audit documentation. Documentation can cater to mandates related to regulatory disclosures. Additionally, documentation might be available in various formats, both electronic and paper-based. Regular monitoring. Set up a system to regularly review and assess the objectives of the pieces. Use insights from the monitoring element and other relevant data sources to evaluate progress. Identify areas for improvement based on this review. Integration with other systems. Ensure that pieces' objectives are distinct yet harmonious with other management systems. Analyze existing management systems like QM, risk management, and compliance systems. Find synergies and eliminate redundancies. By adhering to this action plan, Mr. Z will ensure that the piece's objectives are not only well-defined but also effectively integrated, monitored, and improved upon for optimal performance. Risks, action plan for Mr. Z. Objective: establish and maintain an efficient risk management strategy within the pieces to ensure continuous identification, evaluation, and control of product compliance risks. Steps: identify and systematically analyze risks, recognize the product compliance risks throughout the product lifecycle. Ensure that there's a comprehensive understanding of the product range and business model. Engage product-relevant organizational units in identifying potential risks. Adjustments to changes. Equip the pieces to swiftly respond to alterations or shifts in business units, especially concerning new technologies or business areas. Foster an adaptable mindset among stakeholders and teams to be ready for these changes. Direct focus to emerging areas or technologies to ensure compliance. Methodical risk management. Introduce a structured approach to quantify and qualify product-related risks. Assess risks in terms of occurrence probability and potential impact. Recognize and account for possible interdependencies between different risks. Monitoring measures and controls. Establish a robust monitoring system to supervise the efficacy of the measures derived from the risk analysis. Implement regular check-ins or audits to ensure these measures are in place and effective. Independent risk assessment. Seek the expertise of an independent entity to review and support the risk assessment process. Ensure that the entity is unbiased and can provide a fresh perspective on potential risks. Structured risk mitigation. After identifying risks, devise a strategic approach to either eradicate or minimize these risks. Apply proven methodologies and processes grounded in recognized standards. Reevaluate these compliance risks, especially in light of introduction or alterations in activities, products, or services. Adjustments in the organization's structure or strategic direction. Noteworthy external shifts, such as client interactions. Amendments to compliance responsibilities. Organizational mergers or acquisitions. Instances of noncompliance. Even one noncompliance event can indicate a significant shift in circumstances. Audit questions for Mr. Z to check risks. Objective: ensure a comprehensive understanding and management of product compliance risks by seeking answers to crucial guiding questions. Steps: risk management concept. Confirm the existence of a conceptual framework for risk management. If not present, initiate the creation of a risk management concept tailored to binding obligation breaches. Systematic risk identification. Ensure a systematic approach to recognizing product compliance risks. Develop a mechanism for routinely documenting relevant laws and significant markets and for monitoring adherence to these laws. Evaluate identified risks. Once risks are determined, make sure they undergo a thorough assessment. Factor in incidents of noncompliance within the industry and draw insights from these cases. Life cycle risk coverage. Ensure that risk evaluations cover the entire product life cycle. Integrate processes such as field observations and change management into the risk assessment strategy. Risk mitigation measures. For every identified risk, devise suitable countermeasures. Regularly monitor the implementation of these measures. Document the efficiency of each measure and adjust as necessary. Recurring risk assessment. Establish a continuous process for revisiting and reevaluating potential compliance risks. Ensure that any insights or findings related to risks are disseminated across different business units and product lines for collaborative mitigation efforts. By meticulously adhering to this action plan, Mr. Z will be adeptly equipped to handle any product compliance risks, ensuring the company's operations remain within the boundaries of all relevant regulations and standards. Program, Action Plan for Mr. Z. Objective, efficiently incorporate the PIECES program into the organization, ensuring that all processes associated with product compliance are meticulously coordinated, evaluated, and linked for optimal product compliance. Steps. Defining the PIECES program scope, understand the full range of activities and processes under the PIECES, specifically concerning product compliance. Review existing processes in the company and assess their relevance to product compliance. Integrate compliance-related topics like risk management, quality management, legal, and compliance management. Interface management, ensure seamless integration between different systems or areas crucial for product compliance. Draft clear interface descriptions detailing roles and responsibilities, ensuring collaboration across multiple systems. Periodically review and adjust interfaces to optimize their performance and ensure the PIECES' effectiveness. Process mapping, generate a comprehensive overview of existing processes within the organization. Identify and document key processes across the value chain vital for ensuring product compliance, such as development, production, certification, and after-sales. Differentiate between processes with direct and indirect influence on the product, focusing on PIECES relevant processes. Compliance checks, for processes with heightened risk or significant relevance, introduce compliance checks to verify process reliability. Differentiation between first and second line, understand the distinctions between the implementation level and the control level. First line, emphasize daily operational processes like regulatory monitoring, interpretation of binding obligations, risk mitigation, safeguarding, and monitoring. Second line, document specific tasks, objectives, scopes, and assign clear responsibilities. This involves creating clear reporting paths, training measures, and monitoring PIECES effectiveness. Management support, ensure that the management board provides the necessary resources, training, and clearly defined responsibilities for the PIECES' effective operation. Avoid overregulation, periodically review the PIECES for redundancies and streamline processes where possible. Key elements of an outsourcing process. Initial and ongoing due diligence, conduct regular checks both at the start and as the partnership progresses. Appropriate controls, set up checks and balances that align with the task's nature. Continuous monitoring, oversee and review the third-party actions regularly. Legal/contractual review, ensure the legal terms support the organization's standards and needs. Service level agreements, SLA, considerations, focus on the specifics and obligations set in the SLAs. Third-party certification, engage partners that meet the guidelines set in the given document. Implementing controls in contracts. Purpose, when partnering with third parties, ensure the proper management of procurement, operational, and business aspects. Scope, the extent of controls depends on the organization's size and the transaction nature. Risk management, properly executed controls can significantly reduce potential compliance risks. Implement controls. Documentation. Detailed, accessible guidelines, policies, processes, procedures, and work instructions. Reporting tools. System-based tools. Exception reports. Authorization mechanisms. Approval processes. Task distribution. Segregation of roles to prevent conflicts of interest. Digital measures. Automated processes. Planning. Yearly compliance-centered plans. Employee evaluation. Performance plans. Review mechanisms. Regular compliance checks. Audits. Handling binding obligations under compliance management procedures. Identification, understand and communicate both existing and altered binding obligations pertinent to targeted markets. Integration and translation, create methods for interpreting and conveying binding obligations, and offer support when deciphering ambiguous regulatory requirements. Embed compliance in various tools, digital systems, forms, contracts, and other legal documents. Implementation, document and communicate requirements stemming from binding obligations interpretation and develop consistent processes for these requirements. Safeguarding, emphasize the importance of double verification principles, such as peer reviews, and monitor the accurate interpretation and fulfillment of requirements. Monitoring and reacting, develop methods to systematically capture and address identified nonconformities related to the product. Noncompliance protocols, clear systems for detecting, reporting, and escalating noncompliance instances and potential risks. By systematically following this action plan and addressing the guiding questions, Mr. Z can ensure a well-structured pieces program that guarantees product compliance across all organizational levels. Investigation processes. A robust system promptly and meticulously investigates any suspected misconduct by the organization, its employees, or relevant third parties. Documentation should detail the organization's actions, including any punitive or corrective measures, and updates to the compliance system based on insights gained and use root cause analysis. Legal obligations. Note, at times, organizations are legally bound to disclose noncompliance. In such situations, they notify regulatory bodies following the relevant rules or as mutually agreed upon. Even without a legal mandate, organizations can choose to voluntarily disclose noncompliance to regulators, which might alleviate potential repercussions. Audit questions for Mr. Z to check program under PCM system. Objective: establish a comprehensive understanding of the program's design and its effective implementation in relation to binding obligations. Steps: evaluate existing systems, determine if systems like the QM system or compliance management system can be integrated into the pieces. Integration and exchange, ensure that current processes and roles concerning product compliance are either integrated into the pieces or effectively exchanged via interfaces. Delineation of responsibilities, confirm the independence of the second line function from the first line, emphasizing the importance of segregation of duties. Identifying pieces relevant processes, identify and document all processes directly linked to binding obligations in the product. Monitoring and ensuring process reliability, ensure that pieces relevant processes are robust, minimizing product compliance risks, and are continuously supervised for reliability. Organization. Action plan for Mr. Z. Objective: efficiently structure and implement the organization of the pieces, assigning and clarifying roles, responsibilities, and functions in line with the 3 lines model for optimal product compliance. Steps: 1. Understanding the 3 lines model, familiarize yourself with the 3 distinct roles within the model. A. First line, operational divisions in charge of ensuring business consistency with binding obligations. B. Second line, establishment of product compliance standards, company-wide risk monitoring, and framing conditions for the pieces. C. Third line, provides independent reviews and advice on all matters concerning the attainment of objectives, like through an audit. 2. Defining roles and responsibilities. A. Assign the primary risk owner role to the operative divisions, first line, who must manage their units in line with binding obligations. B. The second line should establish product compliance standards, monitor risks, and provide governance for the pieces. C. Safeguard the segregation of the first and second lines, avoiding potential conflicts of interest. 3. Role assignment based on company size. A. For smaller companies, consolidate various aspects into one function in the second line, such as safety or security. B. In larger corporations, define roles based on business units or areas in line with the organization's structure. 4. Integration of roles into the organization, use tools like a RACIC chart to assign tasks to either existing or new roles. 5. Delegation of roles. A. Ensure the framework for delegation, tasks, authorizations, and responsibility is clearly defined. B. For effective delegation, ensure that individuals are chosen based on their responsibility and position, and the required resources are provided. C. Monitor the effectiveness of delegated tasks. 6. Training and qualification, ensure that employees assigned roles are adequately trained and qualified for pieces relevant tasks. 7. Creation or identification of panels. A. Depending on the organizational structure, consider establishing or identifying a panel for pieces relevant decisions and agreements. B. Identify and integrate any existing panels or bodies related to product compliance into the pieces. For a compliance system to be effective, there must be an unwavering commitment from the organization's leadership that extends throughout every level. The dedication of the governing body and senior management is critical, as they need to actively and openly support the goals of the compliance management system. The repercussions of not adhering to compliance can be severe, potentially leading to harm to the company's reputation, the forfeiture of operational licenses, missed opportunities, and considerable financial costs. Hence, the top brass must recognize the crucial role of a sound compliance management system. 8. Leadership commitment. Foundational belief: the governing body and senior management must actively and openly champion the goals of the compliance management system. B. Repercussions of non-compliance. Non-adherence can tarnish the company's reputation, lead to the revocation of operational licenses, create missed opportunities, and induce hefty financial repercussions. C. Measuring leadership dedication. Active participation in the entire life cycle of the compliance system: creation, expansion, implementation, evaluation, upholding, and refinement. 2. Formal endorsement of the compliance policy. 3. Senior management's proactive role in ensuring compliance objectives are achieved. 4. Consistent communication emphasizing the importance of compliance. V. Comprehensive communication of compliance commitment, corroborated with concrete actions. Vi. Nomination of a skilled compliance team having the requisite autonomy and a direct communication channel to the governing body. 7. Allocation of resources to instill a robust compliance culture. 8. Policies and procedures that transcend mere legalities and embody the organization's core values. 9. Clear delegation of compliance roles throughout the organization. X. Periodic evaluations of the compliance framework. 11. Continuous improvement of compliance accomplishments. 12. Prompt corrective actions when required. 13. Unwavering adherence to the existing compliance system by the governing body and senior management. Governance team, principles of compliance governance. I. Direct access to leadership. Unhindered communication with the governing body and top management ensures effective decision-making. 2. Independence. The compliance function must operate without bias and be free from undue influence. 3. Authority. The compliance team must possess the stature and respect to guide others and voice concerns. 4. Resource allocation. Adequate human, budgetary, and technological resources are paramount to the success of the compliance function. Recruitment protocol. I. Before onboarding or promoting members. 2. Engage in comprehensive evaluations, including background checks. 3. Identify and document essential expertise for all roles. 4. Utilize role descriptions and position specifications as evidence during recruitment or placement. V. Offer training initiatives to maintain and develop competencies. Stakeholders identification. I. External stakeholders. State authorities and departments. Oversight agencies. Clients. Project partners. Providers. Intermediaries. Owners, shareholders, and financiers. Civil society entities. Public and community organizations. Business partners. Internal stakeholders. Leadership or board. Administrative staff. Workforce. Departments like risk oversight, operational control, internal evaluation, and personnel management. Define reporting and escalation channels, ensure clarity in decision-making and escalation processes within the organization. Audit questions for Mr. Z to check organization as part of the PCM system. Objective: evaluate and confirm the organization's efficiency and clarity regarding PC's roles and responsibilities. Steps: role clarity. Regularly review and ensure that roles and responsibilities within the first and second lines are clearly defined and kept updated. Independence between lines. Verify the autonomy between the first and second lines to ensure objective decision-making and effective risk management. Determination of responsibility. Identify the entity, either a function or panel, that holds the primary responsibility for conceptualizing, implementing, and operating the pieces. Resource allocation. Confirm the availability of essential resources, authorizations, and expertise required for PC's operation. Decision-making processes. Ensure that interdisciplinary processes for PC's related aspects are well defined, catering to methodologies, specific requirements, and decisions. Establishment of panels/bodies. Ascertain that suitable panels or responsible bodies are in place for PC's relevant issues, with their tasks clearly delineated. By systematically following this action plan and addressing the guiding questions, Mr. Z can ensure the pieces is structured optimally, with distinct and efficient roles and responsibilities ensuring product compliance across the organization. 6. Communication and training. Communication and training, action plan for Mr. Z. Objective: ensure effective communication and training mechanisms are in place, facilitating employees' understanding of the importance of product compliance and aiding the seamless operation of the pieces. Steps: 1. Sensitization and significance. A. Educate employees about the critical importance of product compliance and the company's binding obligations. B. Stress the significance of product compliance through regular communication mediums. 2. Risk-based target group identification. A. Identify and categorize risk-based target groups for specialized communication and training. B. Segregate groups based on exposure and relevance to product compliance aspects. Leverage existing training materials. Assess existing training documents, especially those related to quality and/or compliance management systems. Integrate and supplement these materials into the new pieces training programs. Communication and training development. Develop a comprehensive communication strategy, considering aspects of the company culture, such as leadership tone. Formulate a detailed training plan, ensuring that all target groups are covered. Training plan implementation. Conduct training for all relevant employees to foster a mindset centered around product compliance. Focus on employees at the operative level who handle compliance-relevant processes, and those with designated roles in the pieces. Ensure training modules are designed as per the target group, with some being mandatory, like basic training or expert sessions. Training verification and participation. Confirm the implementation of training through documentation. Regularly monitor employee participation and gather feedback for improvements. It's crucial for organizations to reconsider and update training under the following circumstances. When there's a shift in job roles or duties. When there's a shift in job roles or duties. If there's an organizational restructure. In cases of modifications to compliance mandates, notably legal criteria and stakeholder expectations. When there are alterations in the tasks, goods, or services offered. In response to findings from evaluations, audits, feedback, grievances, non-compliance incidents, or stakeholder input. Points of contact. Designate and publicize contact persons to provide guidance and support concerning product compliance queries. It's crucial for organizations to reconsider and update training under the following circumstances. When there's a shift in job roles or duties. Whenever there are updates to internal guidelines, workflows, or systems. If there's an organizational restructure. In cases of modifications to compliance mandates, notably legal criteria and stakeholder expectations. When there are alterations in the tasks, goods, or services offered. In response to findings from evaluations, audits, feedback, grievances, non-compliance incidents, or stakeholder input. External communication. Emphasize product compliance importance to business partners, promoting the adoption of pieces both internally and across the supply chain. Depending on the business model, this can involve suppliers, trade organizations, cooperation partners, or business customers. Audit question to Mr. Z to check communication and training. Objective: periodically evaluate and confirm the effectiveness and efficiency of communication and training mechanisms regarding the pieces. Steps: internal communication. Verify if there's structured and regular communication about product compliance internally, using mediums like web pages, town hall meetings, or newsletters. Reachability of communication channels. Confirm the ability to communicate product compliance directives to all relevant employees, including those without computer access. Supply chain communication. Assess if the piece's communication extends effectively along the supply chain. Tone from the top. Ensure guidelines and values related to product compliance are regularly communicated using a top-down leadership approach. Training concept. Determine if there's a training blueprint tailored to the unique needs of various target groups concerning product compliance. Proof of training effectiveness. Validate employees' understanding and application of training content, using methods like e-learning assessments or feedback collection. Training updates. Periodically review and refresh the content of training modules to ensure relevance and currency. Accessibility of points of contact. Confirm the availability and utilization of established points of contact for product compliance-related queries. By adhering to this systematic action plan and addressing the guiding questions, Mr. Z can ascertain the effective communication and training of employees, ensuring a robust understanding and adherence to product compliance across the organization. 7. Monitoring/improvement/reporting. Monitoring/improvement/reporting, action plan for Mr. Z. Objective: establish a comprehensive framework for regular monitoring, continuous improvement, and transparent reporting of the product compliance system, pieces, within the organization. Steps: monitoring. Define and disseminate requirements. Clearly outline the requirements that the pieces should meet in an official document. Distribute the document to all relevant departments to ensure alignment and understanding. Implementation and objective achievement checks. Regularly monitor if the piece's elements are being implemented and if the set objectives are achieved using predefined metrics and methods. Develop a monitoring plan. Draft a yearly risk-based monitoring plan that outlines the activities, frequency, and focus areas. Share the plan across the organization to foster preparedness. Ensure neutrality and define roles. Safeguard that monitoring remains unbiased, without conflicts of interest. Define clear roles and responsibilities, ensuring that there's no direct reporting line between the monitoring function and the function being monitored. Utilize synergies. Explore connections between the pieces and other systems, such as Quality Management System, QMS, to avoid redundancy. Use insights from other audits to supplement pieces monitoring. Improvement. Implement and track measures. Define corrective actions for identified nonconformities, ensuring that they're not only implemented but also monitored for effectiveness. Systematic weakness identification. Continuously scan the pieces for vulnerabilities and systematically address them to uphold product compliance. Reporting. Frequent updates to governing bodies. Regularly present reports to the management board about crucial product compliance aspects, including processes, findings, and improvement actions. Utilize KPI reports, case studies, and risk assessments to provide a comprehensive overview. Clear reporting channels. Establish procedural channels for reporting any nonconformities in the pieces. Define clear escalation paths depending on the severity and nature of nonconformities. Documentation and archiving. Maintain consistent and easily understandable documentation of all pieces' activities. Ensure that all relevant pieces' records are archived in compliance with legal and company-specific requirements. Audit questions for Mr. Z to check monitoring, improvement and reporting under PCM system. Monitoring. Is the pieces requirement document updated, widely distributed, and easily accessible? How frequently are the pieces' objectives and implementations checked, and by whom? Is the monitoring plan comprehensive and updated yearly? Are the roles involved in the monitoring process clear, well-defined, and free from conflicts of interest? Are there established collaborations between pieces monitoring and other audits or systems? Improvement. Are the corrective measures for identified weaknesses being effectively executed and tracked? Is there a systematic approach in place for identifying and rectifying weaknesses in the pieces? Reporting. Are the higher authorities in the organization periodically updated about the pieces' status and outcomes? Are there defined channels and procedures for reporting nonconformities in the pieces, and are they known to all relevant employees? Are all pieces documents consistent, easily comprehensible, and archived as per stipulated norms? By diligently following the structured action plan and routinely addressing the guiding questions, Mr. Z can ensure that the organization's pieces remains robust, efficient, and continuously refined for optimal performance. 4. Audit questions for Product Compliance Management System. Leadership and strategy. Does the company have a clearly defined product compliance vision and mission? Are leadership roles and responsibilities regarding product compliance clearly defined and communicated? How does the leadership demonstrate commitment to the pieces? Risk management. How are product compliance risks identified, assessed, and documented within the organization? What criteria does the company use to prioritize these risks? Are risk mitigation measures defined and implemented accordingly? How frequently is the risk assessment process reviewed and updated? Processes and structures. Are processes and structures clearly documented and accessible to relevant stakeholders? How are product compliance processes integrated into the organization's overall operation? Are there mechanisms in place to review and improve these processes regularly? Culture and competencies. How is the importance of product compliance communicated to employees? Is there an established training and development plan for product compliance? How are employees' product compliance competencies assessed and tracked? Communication and training. How frequently are employees trained on product compliance topics? What communication channels are in place to ensure all employees, including those without computer access, are informed about pieces updates? How does the company communicate with external stakeholders about its pieces? Monitoring/improvement/reporting. What methods and tools are used to monitor the pieces' effectiveness? How are identified nonconformities or weaknesses addressed? Are there clear reporting lines and escalation paths for pieces-related issues? How are pieces findings and updates reported to the organization's governing bodies? IT and data management. How is product compliance data collected, stored, and managed? Are there data privacy and protection measures in place for pieces-related data? How are IT tools and solutions used to support the pieces evaluated and updated? Recommended readings and citations. 1 KPMG, Compliance Management in Wandel. 2 VDA-Product Compliance System. 3 ESKIRC, Environmental, Social, Governance, Risk and Compliance, Requirements for Organization and Management System, Professor Dr. Andreas Groch, Professor Dr. Joseph Shearer. Do not forget to ask for our on-demand training about product compliance. 1 Environmental, Social, Governance, Risk, and Compliance Management System. 2 Advanced Material Compliance and Sustainability. 3 Workshop, Build Your Company Product Compliance Management System. If you would like to know more about this topic and how to build your product compliance management system, let us have a short meeting. Write us an email at ComplyMarket@complymarket.com. Thank you for attending and looking forward to meeting you again.